Welcome to Real Herbalism Radio, show 263, recorded at Big Dog Studio in Eugene, Oregon. This show is made possible by... Tired of your website not performing the way you want to? Get a free SEO audit at mudpotdesign.com/free-SEO-audit today to find out how they can help you. Ace High Graphics is your place for custom face masks, shirts, and hoodies. Visit them at acehighgraphics.com. Now, here are your hosts.
I'm Candace Hunter.
I'm Patrick Hunter.
And welcome to Real Herbalism Radio. Hey, Patrick. I got you again.
We had a snafu on the recording, and we just did a whole intro and a whole thing. And I said, okay, I'm going to get you next time, and you'll have to go first. And then she made me go first again. She did it again. So, anyway... So last week we had Leslie Shalduha of Sassy, Llama, Apothecary on the show talking about her path.
Yeah, she's fun. She's such a neat lady. And one of the things that she said right at the beginning left me feeling a little bit sheepish.
Oh, you got to say llama-ish. I think llama-ish is better.
Oh, but llamas are much more sassy, and they're there. And, you know, I mean, all the llamas I've met had a bit of sass to them. Whereas sheep, they have a different feel about them. And you know, Sean the sheep, sheepish.
Yeah.
But it was because what she said at the beginning was that when she first started making all the changes in her diet and learning about, you know, herbs and diet and food and how that contributes to health, she started telling everybody what she was learning.
Oh,
and yeah, I remember doing the same thing. And I don't know that I've met an herbalist who hasn't spent at least 10 minutes in the beginning preaching.
Well, I think it's longer than 10 minutes. I mean, geez, you still preach to me now.
Well, yeah, but you need some preaching sometimes.
Herbal preaching.
Yep. It's so easy when you get excited about realizing simple things like, oh, did you know that rosemary can help fight off, you know, colds and flus if you take it just in your food, just eat it. It's good for you. You get super excited about things like that. You know?
Yeah, I mean, you describing what you're eating is a thing, but then there's also the part of it where it's fun to recommend and it's fun to experiment and say things, but usually what ends up happening is it's the other part of it. The other part of preachy part about it is like, no, you shouldn't eat that. You shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do this. And that's, I think, where even Leslie was partly because of her heart condition.
Yeah.
Because she had a really bad diet apparently when she was pregnant. You know, she learned all this stuff, and then she started saying, well, you shouldn't eat that, and you shouldn't eat that, and that's bad for you too. And then I've done that. I mean, you know, when we've discovered things about health, or, you know, I really made a concerted effort when you know, we did the vegan and the vegetarian lifestyle switch, to try not to be that person, that vegetarian that
tells everybody how they shouldn't eat. And meat, and
because at the end of the day, you're just going to tick your friends off, and they're not going to want to hang around you. You know?
Yeah, and ultimately, all that free advice doesn't really. It's wasted. It's wasted energy. But it's still hard to not fall into that for a bit. All of us do it. We've all done it. And so I thought about how many things I told you that you should and shouldn't be doing for the first few years when we were, you know, learning more about herbs and starting to move more in the direction of better diet and all of that. I did tell you a lot of things that you should and shouldn't do.
You did. There's no question. But I don't think that was something that was unique per se to you discovering herbs and herbalism.
Oh, you think I've been telling you what to do all along?
Yeah.
You know, you really shouldn't shame me like that publicly.
But it was different. It was like, not to indulge, but it wasn't because you got new, you know, herbal health knowledge that you wanted to you know, talk about. It was, you just wanted me to eat better, and I know that I was making poor choices.
It is true that a meal of steak and eggs and hash browns doesn't contain a proper vegetable, and you probably should have a vegetable with that.
Does rosemary count?
Rosemary does not count as a proper vegetable, especially when it's one single sprig that you don't eat but set aside.
Right. I mean, you're not wrong. And most of the lunches that I had in the 90s before the BF before Finn and AF
BC before child
and okay, AC. But anyway, very light in vegetables, and meat was always part of it. It was never condiment or lightly. It was always quarter of the plate, half the plate, big slab of steak, big pork chop, big chicken breast, whatever.
2 pork chops.
We can't just have one.
Right.
It's the other white meat.
Sorry, but half of the meatloaf does not constitute 2 slices.
But I never wanted to put it back in the fridge. So.
I know.
But yeah, I mean, typical American diet, really.
Yeah.
Lots of meat, lots of starch, lots of carbs, not a lot of vegetables. So I didn't just, flip the switch and say, I'm going to go, 80% vegetables and 20% meat or 20. I just said I have to go all in.
Yeah.
Because I'd spent so many years the other way.
Yeah.
And not even that. The thing is in this, my friends when I was 30 were some older men.
Yeah.
And they were seeing how I was eating. And now they're sitting at, in their mid 40s and 50s. And they're watching what I was eating. And they're like, you can't keep doing that. And I'm like, what do you mean? I'm 30. I can do what I want. And they're right. Now I'm their age, looking back and going, what was I doing?
We're looking at the 30-year-olds in life saying, our lives, the 20 and 30-year-olds saying, don't make the change now. Make it now, because having to do it when your metabolism hits that middle 30s and it slows down, that's very unpleasant. So just make the change now. And they're all saying, I can do what I want.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm concerned about the way my 50s will shake out, because my 40s weren't as healthy as they could have been. I don't know what checks I've written against my body in my 50s right now.
Right. Right. How much debt is there? We don't know.
There's
not proper accounting for these things.
I don't know. I know that if I don't make changes, that will happen. I mean, COVID really threw a wrench, not just for me, but for so many people on their dietary path and doing what they were going to do. And, we were weightlifting, we were exercising, we went vegan, vegetarian. I mean, I dropped a serious amount of weight and I was feeling really good. My jeans are barely, I refused to buy jeans until I hit my goal weight. And, I came close to my goal weight last year, but once COVID hit and I stopped exercising because I couldn't go to the gym, and I didn't, and I know people are going to listen and say, well, you could have worked out at home. It wasn't the same. I didn't have the equipment, and I need people around me. I need a coach saying, you got to go do that. I've never been a self-starter. Sure, I can commute to work, but that's just a means to an end. I'm riding my bike to work, and that's a choice I'm making.
Right. But that's a workout.
It is.
You can turn it into a workout.
No, and I do. I mean, my heart rate gets up into the 150s when I'm going quickly, and I'm doing that. But it's not the same type of workout as heavy lifting or putting your muscles through that point. So
I think really the difference is that you don't have someone at the end cheering you on, saying, wow, you did it, woohoo, or keep going, partway through there, don't give up, you can do it.
No, I because I'm motivated to do the biking, and I'm motivated for that. So that's not I don't think that's.
But with the weightlifting, I noticed that those were the days that you did really well were always the ones where you had people cheering as you were doing it. And you cheered for them too. I mean, it wasn't like it was a one-sided thing, but it's that human interaction and that engagement with others that I think really motivates you.
So we should be with my friends and they choose to eat Brussels sprouts. Yay! You did it! You got Brussels sprouts. Oh, just one more.
You got your bees.
One more.
Got your bees in. Well, just one little taste of the cabbage, or maybe the kimchi. We'll call that a C.
That was your goal. Tomorrow work on. Maybe we should, but
I don't think they thank us for that. I'm guessing no. Because Leslie's right. Food is intimate. It really is an intimate experience.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you think about the things that you put into your body, and that's something. Our yoga guy said to me. He said, think about your torso, right? 70% of it seems, is devoted entirely into digestion.
Yeah.
And so you have all of this mass to produce and work with food.
Yeah.
So if you think about it as a furnace, right? And you pour wood and coal or whatever it is into a furnace.
Yeah.
What are you going to get out of that? You're going to get out smoke. You're going to get out creosote. You're going to get tar. You're going to get your chimneys are going to get plugged. You're not going to get the energy and horsepower that you need out of that engine because it's not getting fueled by the right stuff. I mean, honestly, when you think about it in that context, your stomach is a combustion chamber. I mean, it's burning using acid to burn, break down food when there's gas, and then everything's extrapolated. It goes into the digestive tract and pulls out the resources that are needed. And there's a waste management system, and there's all these things that are part of a power generation system.
Right. Yeah. If only we modeled our homes based on that model, our kitchens would be the biggest room in the house.
Right.
And instead, our kitchens are often poorly afterthoughts.
Yeah,
at least middle income America kitchens.
Yeah, they're small kitchens crammed in for barely any food creation. They're
not very good at that.
Here's the funny thing that I find out is the people that seem to be well off, that have the big homes and the big kitchens,
they often don't cook. Yeah.
But then the people that are lower income that need to cook and it's part of their thing.
And often it becomes a family culture to cook. They are trying to do it in
these tiny little
kitchens. Closet of a kitchen.
Right? I know. It's totally reversed. The family the family that's cooking doesn't necessarily need to have a dining room. They just need a bigger kitchen.
Yeah.
They don't need to have a den. They don't need to have both a family room and a living room. A big living room is fine.
Right. Yeah.
Our home architecture is just completely taken.
It's weird.
It's weird.
It's just weird.
It's just weird. Kitchens should be bigger.
Yes. And the food that we eat really is our medicine. I mean, that's that Hippocrates thing saying, let thy food be thy medicine and thy medicine be thy food.
Oh, okay.
It comes in and out of favor as far as I can tell with the herbal community. It gets quoted for a lot for a while and then not so much for a while, but it is really very apt. I mean,
yeah, Phyllis Delight was saying that same thing, is food is medicine.
And it really is.
It is your medicine. I mean,
it is your first medicine. Yeah. And if you treat it well and you make right choices with it, often you don't need the other type of medicine very often, if at all.
Well, it's interesting, as you said that. We control, to a great extent, what our dog eats.
Yep.
We make the diet. We've developed it. We've got everything he needs. And he's, 6 now?
He's actually turning 8 this year.
8? We had him 8?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. That's crazy. Okay. But in that time, he's only gone to the vet because of at the beginning when he needed some vaccinations.
Yeah, when he was a puppy, we brought him in for the basic vaccinations.
Yeah, and I think we brought him again in this year for something. But
yeah, he had an ear infection this year, and we started with food, and that didn't clear it. Then we moved to the standard herbal stuff that I put on it, the topical stuff, and that cleared it for a while, and then it returned, and then I decided we were probably at a point where I needed to get a more potent medicine, so we went in.
So
so in 8 years he's had only well visits except for this one time for the ear stuff.
Right. And I mean that's not typical. I mean, but the fact is that his diet is heavy in vegetables. He gets the oils he needs. He gets the vitamin E for his coat, and he does get a lot of protein from the turkey that we put in, and he gets energy from the rice. And so there's a lot of things in that meal, and nothing in there to really harm him. It's all fresh. It's all freshly frozen, and it's doled out twice a day.
Yeah, he gets the same amount.
Yeah. I mean, he gets
steady amount. He shares my meals.
Yeah, and the other thing he does get is some people food, but it's when you're vegetarian, he's just getting more probiotics and other things like sauerkrauts and stuff that we've made or whatever. So it's helped his digestive tract. But he looks great for an 8-year-old dog.
Oh yeah, he's in excellent shape.
So if we take that analogy that so we control all the food that the dog eats, maybe you need to control me. Maybe I just need 2 pounds of food a day, one in the morning,
your food.
one in the afternoon, and I'll be on the floor with the dog. Okay. And maybe that's all I need, because sometimes just giving up control is easier. Just say, you want me to eat a smoothie every day? Done. I'll just do that. Fine. Okay.
Yeah.
I find myself being less and less successful when I have choice.
Especially when you're trying to make choices amidst lots of other stressful or chaotic things that are happening in your life. And the last year has been stressful. I don't know that there's anybody who hasn't had some stress this last year, just because, a pandemic, really? I mean,
yeah, who
really? We're all going to just, shutter in our houses. And now the question of, do you get a vaccine? Don't you get one? Did you get one? Were you able to get one? Do you qualify? All of that, there's just so many, it's stressful. And even though we're potentially hoping to see the end of a majority of the pandemic sanctions and stuff sometime, I'm guessing within the next 6 months to a year, it's still, there's the stress over, did you or didn't you get the vaccine? Will you or won't you get the vaccine? What do you have to do to get the vaccine?
Right.
All of that, that's very stressful. Will the vaccine cause side effects? I mean, some people are having them, the fever and the other.
Oh, yeah.
Minimal,
especially after the second shot, they're showing a lot of symptoms. Yeah, no, I understand.
Will you get that one or do you get a different one? And, even just something as simple as that is a stressful situation. And I've heard multiple people who've gone to get their first shot and they've had incredibly emotional experiences afterwards. And a lot of times the emotions, I think, really, it isn't the vaccine itself that caused that. The emotional outpouring is the idea that the vaccine is going to save you from this pandemic that's been this looming death, like the sickle standing right above your neck for the last year. And that's caused so much strain on people. So when you've got all of that going on, how do you make the right choice about whether you should eat that bag of Cheetos? It's really hard. Really, really hard.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Well, when you're not able to go out and you do these things and with people, I mean, I'm making excuses. Obviously, some people didn't have the luxury that we had. We have a home, we have a yard, we have a patio, we have a place.
And we had an office that we could go to that was just us, so we could still go to it.
And I want to just put that out there for people that didn't have that. I
feel for you.
That had to be extremely difficult, especially if you lived in an apartment building in New York or a big city or whatever. You didn't have any of that.
Or if you have a large family in a small home or a small place and you're suddenly all together all the time.
That can be a challenge.
I mean, we chose to live all together, live together, school together, work together in one little house for a long time. And that was a choice that we made. We could always have chosen to not to. We had an out. And that was incredibly stressful, even with knowing we had an out. I can't imagine trying to do that without knowing you have an out. I mean,
yeah, always having an out makes a little bit of a buffer.
Yeah.
Connect with people who love plants at the Real Herb Market. They've curated a crew of real herbalists who make practical herbal products by hand. Now you can find just the herbals you need all in one place, real easy. That's what the Real Herb Market is all about. Connecting you with herbalists who care and the plants who heal, the Real Herb Market. So, yeah, I think food is medicine. We need to, move on that idea and that premise and think about, if you're hurting, and you've got chronic inflammation, and think just look at what you're eating.
Yeah, I really think about what it is that you're eating. I mean, it's not about shame or not shame.
Yeah.
I'll admit, I ate half a bag of Cheetos last night. It's terrible. I mean, they were the Simply ones, so supposedly less junk in them, but honestly, there's still a lot of ingredients, and I should not have eaten any of them. I didn't even eat a single one, but I did. We do make choices like that, but I'm looking at and saying, well, that was probably a bad choice. It probably wasn't good for me. The rest of this week, I can make better choices. I can choose to not buy another bag of those, for one thing, to not even have them.
Mm-hmm.
And then I can choose to eat some extra vegetables today, maybe aim for some vegetables like some good lettuces to help, with the bitter part of them, and not iceberg, but, like arugula and some dandelion greens, and throw those in my salad to help, clean up from having eaten perhaps maybe not the best, but.
Right. And all of those, lettuces, especially if you get the farm raised ones, like they're a lot more bitter than the ones you're going to get at the store.
Yeah.
If anyone's ever noticed, I mean, and I think we mentioned it here on the podcast we've done enough of these now. We're probably going to repeat some topics.
Yeah.
But the idea that, bitter lettuce that you get at the grocery store is nowhere near as bitter as it once was. It's been bred out of, bitter's been brought out of it. It's
Well, it's been sweetened through breeding, but it's also a lot of the store grown, or the stuff that you get at the store is often grown in controlled areas, and they control the nutrients, and they give it a lot of water. Mm-hmm. And lots of water tends to take a lot of the bitter out of foods that are already bitter by nature.
I wonder, I wonder if they, not hydroponic, but aeroponic the lettuces and that.
Many of them are, so they don't have to wash them.
That makes sense.
A lot of those are,
The production would be really high. Washing would be really high.
Yeah.
Because that would explain, like, when we get lettuces from the CSA that we do, that they're, one, we have to wash them, they've got dirt on them, and then two, they are more bitter.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that bitter is really good for your digestive system, which you think of it as the grease in the cogs that move things around, because it helps create the bile, right? Which helps with the processing those fats, and so it's all connected.
It is all connected, and I mean, really, you really are what you eat. I mean, so right now I happen to be a big giant Cheeto, but
then at that point, honey, I'm a keg of beer. So yay.
but I'm also an artichoke, and I'm also lettuce and cabbage, because those are things that I've eaten in the last last day.
Last night was not a good night for Patrick. He did things he ate things and did things in too late of a night, and had nightmares and couldn't sleep, and that doesn't normally happen. So
no, it's been a stressful, challenging.
So today he's going to be a little more healthy.
Yeah.
I don't mind the fact that he had a networking meeting in the morning and there were some donuts.
I'm not even going to notice the donut.
So not only my keg of beer, but I guess I'm a crawler too. Okay, so tonight I'll do better. Well, actually at lunch I did. I had probiotic foods, I had cabbages, I had pumpkin seeds, I had a nice salad lunch that, someone made for me. I didn't have to decide or think about it. I wonder who that could be.
I was doing that for you, and then you said, no, I'm eating too much. So I said, okay, well, then I won't make lunch for you.
No,
and
what
you
I
said, that's a good idea.
Well, no, what I said was that it's really hard if I have that lunch. My metabolism, because I sit most of the day because I'm working a lot, is that I get home and I'm not hungry. So I would rather not double up on the calories if I don't need to. But the same bit, I mean, the salads were nice. Maybe I'll have to refrain that.
Yeah, this is one of those things where, just like the American house with the kitchen that's tiny when it really should be the biggest room in the house, our work schedule is also kind of messed up. I mean, it would be healthier for both of us, with both our constitutions, to be eating a large lunch and very minimal dinner.
Absolutely.
But it's hard to break away for 2.5 hours in the middle of the day to go home, make lunch, eat lunch, clean up after lunch, and then return.
And then come home. Yeah.
Yeah. It just, we as a culture, we harry past our daytime meals and we race off to work first thing in the morning. A lot of people are grabbing a, donut or a breakfast sandwich from a fast food joint, which is marginally maybe the same as a donut. To be honest, I don't know how much nutrition is actually in one of those breakfast sandwiches, but if it's better, it's marginally better. And both are packed with preservatives and other things that are just not good for us. We're using that to fuel our day, our work day, which, what kind of work are you going to produce on that?
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, that's going to be all the smoke and the tar and the, not a lot of heat coming out of that. And then we go home tired, usually late, and then we eat. If we cook, it takes, you get home and it takes an hour to cook and get the meal on the table. And by the time you're finally eating it and then, done with it, it's dark or after dark in the summer. It gets to be really late, and then you've got an hour or two and you're going to bed. So you're just fueled up to go sleep.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
No.
But how do you shift that? Our whole culture has really locked into the idea that you have to be at your desk at 8 a.m. So does that mean everyone's supposed to get up at 5 or 4 in the morning to make a good meal?
Yeah, no.
That works great for the morning people, but not so great for the not morning people.
Yeah, you made me think about it.
Yeah.
The lunchtime thing is, being if you get up early to go to work, but not really eat anything, and then you go off for lunch at 12 o'clock and they'll come back until 2:30.
Yeah.
Then you have an afternoon until like 5 or 6 and then come home and be done.
Yeah. I've understood that to be the old European way of that's how you manage your day. I don't know if that's really true because, I haven't done the actual research and I've lived in America my whole life. So
right.
I don't know what the Europeans were doing when I was a kid, but maybe they still do that. I don't know.
So we can see that, you and I are products of what we eat, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And we can see that in Leslie's case, she medically, she was forced to change her diet completely. Like overnight, had to change it.
Yeah, she got the light switch treatment.
Yeah, she got the light switch treatment, which is, I always think, that'd be easy.
No.
Probably not.
No.
But she did it. And she learned all that stuff to be healthier.
It takes a lot of courage, a lot of fortitude, a lot of perseverance to get through everything that comes up when you make that kind of light switch change.
Oh, yeah. And I think, because she did that and she did learned herbalism and that, and she started doing all those things, she started developing her own line of products, her own stuff, her own thing.
Oh, yeah.
Herbalist,
Yeah.
right.
She's a wonderful herbalist.
Right. And what's interesting is that, I'll just say it. She's one of our founding sellers for the herb market.
Yeah. Yeah. I was so happy when she said yes.
Yeah. She was just starting to she reached out to me last year for labels. She'd heard the podcast. She knows that one of the other things that I do is, graphic design, website design. So she knew that. So she reached out and said, hey, can you do labels? I said, yes. So we made up these labels for her. And at the time I didn't think, there was no herb market. There was no, but she had wanted advice on starting an online store. And so we went, I gave her, I consulted with her on how and what maybe she should do and where she would be at and what she, all the goals. And then when you and I just had that epiphany of, well,
let's do the herb market.
Let's do a herb market, right?
Yeah.
Well, she was one of the first people I called because she really hadn't, she was the ideal person, right? She just started her business. She didn't have a real big presence and she wanted to be seen. And that's one thing that we said we were going to do with the herb market is get our people seen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you go to the herb market, so theherbmarket.com, by the way,
the real herb market.
Therealherbmarket.com, sorry.
Yeah.
The other one's too expensive. Anyway,
yeah.
Therealherbmarket.com. If you go onto the sellers list, you can click on her link and you'll see her store or her shop. And she's got quite the assortment of things on her shop. She's got things like she's got a hand sanitizer. She's got lip salve. She got lip balm. She's got some salves. She has a whole line of herbal teas. And if you don't...
Yeah, the teas were something I was super excited to see on there. And especially she's got a sample pack there so you can try each of her core blends.
She has a 4-pack.
And she has delightful blends.
Right. And she...
They really are wonderful.
One of her cool things, too, on her packaging was that she enlisted local artists in the Corvallis area of Oregon to for her labels. Mm-hmm. So her belly soothe and her inflammation. And her inflammation is like there's a volcano on it.
Yeah.
And her solace blend is like blue label with a person on it. And anyway, she just really took the time to come up with an idea for that artwork. And we're so excited to have her as a founding seller on the Real Herb Market. And if you're interested in visiting her, therealherbmarket.com.
Yep. Look up Sassy Llama Apothecary.
That's right.
And then order something. Like order one of her teas. They're very good.
Yes.
I mean, she does everything she does is good, but I really particularly love her teas.
Well, the cedar hand sanitizer, that spray is...
Oh, yeah, that smells delightful.
Totally.
I'm like, yeah, let's just spray that in the air.
Right? Change the whole office.
Yes.
All right. So, visit her there at the Real Herb Market. Thanks so much for Leslie for coming on to the show and also for being a founding seller. Mm-hmm. So, I guess till next time, put an herb on it.
The statements made about herbs and products on this podcast have not been evaluated by the United States Food and Drug Administration, FDA, and are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent disease. All information provided on this podcast or any affiliated websites is for informational purposes only and is not intended as a substitute for advice from your physician or other healthcare professional. You should not use the information on this podcast and its affiliated websites for a diagnosis or treatment of any health problem. Always consult with a healthcare professional before starting any new vitamins, supplements, diet, or exercise program before taking any medication, or if you have or suspect you might have a health problem. Any testimonials, questions, or case studies are based on individual results and do not constitute a guarantee that you will achieve the same results.